Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi amma ba'd. We come to two very critical points in the book As-Sunnah by Imam Ahmed. And these 2 points, very seldom, rarely will you find the books that the scholars wrote of the past concerning the Aqidah of the Muslim. Almost all of those books contain these 2 points. And they are points that are in actuality a refutation against the Khawarij and the Mu'tazila. Those people who make takfir of the Muslims because of mistakes and sins. So that's the Khawarij and the Mu'tazila. But these 2 points are also a refutation on people who we have walking around who close the doors of Tawbah to the people. They close the door of Tawbah. They're judgmental, intolerant, and they can't seem to have rahmah upon people because of one shubha or another. And we'll come to that inshallah if I remember. But let me read the 2 points of what Imam al-Mubajjal Ahmed ibn Hanbal said, rahimahullah ta'ala. He said, and we do not testify for anyone from among the people of the Qibla on account of an action that he has done. We do not testify that he is in paradise or that he is in the hellfire. We have hope for the person who is righteous, and we fear for him as well. And we fear for the evil and the sinful person, and we hope for the mercy of Allah for him as well. He went on to mention in the 2nd point, and whoever meets Allah with a sin, which would necessitate that he goes into the hellfire, but that person meets Allah having repented and made tawbah from that sin, not returning back to it, and not being insistent upon it, then we believe that Allah Azza wa Jal will turn to him in forgiveness. And Allah accepts the tawbah from his servants, and he forgives their evil actions. Those are the 2 points that we want to deal with. But there's a 3rd point that inshallah we'll see how it goes. But the 3rd point is, and whoever meets Allah Yawmul Qiyamah after having had the hudud, the prescribed punishment meted out to him for that particular sin in the dunya, then that had that happened to him, it would be a kafara, an expiation for him, Yawmul Qiyamah, as it has occurred and been mentioned in the narrations from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We'll try to deal with the 3rd point, see how it goes. Again, I want to repeat, Ikhwani, Ali, where's Ali? Ali left? Rayyan, you're new. Ali Baba left? And Saraf? Oh yeah, that was Rayyan. This is a point that we have to grasp, and we have to be on top of this in dealing with the Muslims and being far away from the people who are rough and tough with the people of Al-Islam and gentle and easy and forbearing with non-Muslims. Situation in Palestine, there are some people who come across and come off as if they are pro-Zionist and anti-Muslims from Hamas. We don't agree with everything Hamas has to do or say, but to always criticize Hamas under these circumstances and people are getting killed like that is inappropriate, because the issue is Islam and Kufr right now. And there are many manifestations of this shiddah, this ghulu that we have. It is not permissible for us to testify for anybody when we see a deed that they've done and we say that that person is in the Jannah. nor if you see a deed that someone did that necessitates the hellfire. They became LGBT, they did bestiality, or some serious crime, and it's deserving that they go to the hellfire. And the Quran or the Sunnah says that they should go to the hellfire. When we see someone doing that, we don't say he's in the hellfire. And Imam Ahmed said, for the one who was salih and he's doing the righteous deeds, narju lahu al-khair. We hope for him good, that Allah is going to accept his deeds. And the one who is, and we're afraid that Allah may not accept it. And the one who is a sinner, we're afraid for that individual. We're afraid, whoever he may be. But we also have hope that Allah will forgive that individual. And that's clear from some incidents that happened with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's also what is established in the Quran, because Allah Azza wa Jalla is the one who ultimately knows what's going to happen to people. And the man who killed 100 people, and when he asked the Abid, the Zahid, can he make Tawbah? He said, you killed 99 people and you want to make Tawbah? You can't make Tawbah. How can you make Tawbah? And then he killed him and made him 100. Allah threw that man in the hellfire. And the question was put to that man who gave that fatwa, and said, you can't make Tawbah. Allah said to him, are you in control of my treasures? My rahmah, my Jannah, it's for my treasures. Allah says to him, do you know everything about me that you could say, I'm not going to forgive the man who killed 99 people? So it's talking about Allah's religion without knowledge. And those ayat, وَكَثِيرُ مَا هِي لَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَعْلَمُ بِمَنِ اتَّقَى. Don't praise yourselves. Allah knows best who has taqwa. So if we see that someone has been killed in Palestine, we don't emphatically say they're the shuhada. We don't say that without saying insha'Allah. That person is a shaheed. You got to say insha'Allah, because only Allah knows reality of that situation. Or the opposite of that, the person does something really bad. And then people say, he's not going to go to Jannah. He's a kafir because he did that thing. You don't do that. We hope that the one who did good, Allah is going to accept it from him. And the one who did evil, we're fearful. But in both cases, there is hope for this one and hope for that one, fear for this one, fear for that one, because ultimately that is Allah's responsibility. I want to repeat that again. It is not for us to say anyone is in Jannah or anyone is in the hellfire without a proof. If there's proof, then we can't go against that. So the 10 companions promised Al-Jannah, they're in Jannah, because the hadith said that. Ukasha, the companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who say, Ya Rasulullah, make dua to Allah to make me from the 70,000 who will enter into Jannah without any punishment and without any reckoning. He said, you're from them. He's in the Jannah. Bilal, he's in the Jannah. The other companions, they're in the Jannah. Asiya, she's in the Jannah. Anybody who the Quran or the Sunnah said they're in the Jannah, they're in the Jannah. All of the companions, no matter what they did, all of them are in the Jannah, as long as they died as companions, Ridwanullahi alayhim ajmain. If no ayat of the Quran or no hadith said that they're in the Jannah, we don't say that. If the ayat of the Quran and the hadith say they're in the hellfire, we emphatically state they're in the hellfire. Fir'aun, Abu Lahab, Abu Jahl, Umayyah ibn Khalif, all of them are in the hellfire. All of them. Ibrahim's father, Azar, is in the hellfire. Some Muslims come and they have problems with some people who have been said they're in the hellfire, like the Prophet's parents, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And by hook or crook, they'll try to make this something that is not the case. This is something established in the Quran and the Sunnah. It's not someone hoping that Rasulullah's parents are in the hellfire. Who does that? Any and everyone that Rasulullah loved, we would want them to be in the Jannah. But the Jannah is not our call who goes there. So now someone respects Ibrahim and we love Ibrahim. So we're going to reject the hadith that says that Ibrahim's father, Azar, is in the hellfire. The hadith is Sahih Bukhari, is in the book of Allah as it relates to the Prophet's parents, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it is not for the Muslim to have any say-so after Allah and his messenger have decided things. Those words are very heavy on the ears of some people. Very heavy. But the Jannah and the Naar, they belong to Allah. They're from his property, his mulk. And no one has anything to say concerning that. Or you'll be falling into speaking about the religion without knowledge, or even worse, lying on Allah Azza wa Jal. Lying. He mentioned in the Quran, قُلْ إِنَّمَا حَرَّمَ رَبِّيَ الْفَوَاحِشَ مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا وَمَا بَطَنَ إِلَى أَنْ قَالَ وَأَنْ تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Allah made it haram. Tell them, Allah made it haram. That you do the evil, the lewd things, the open ones and the hidden ones. And then he mentioned some other things, and he mentioned, and that you do not say about Allah what you don't have any knowledge on. Where is your proof that he's in the Jannah? Because he did this or he did that. The Prophet mentioned, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a man may do the deeds of the people of a Jannah and what appears to the people. And then what was written for him overtakes him, and he's only a handspan from the Jannah, and what was written overtakes him, then he does it. These are the people of the hellfire, and he enters the hellfire. He said that about the man who was wounded in the jihad, and he wasn't patient, so he killed himself and he committed suicide. When the companions saw him fighting the non-Muslims, they were super impressed with his courage, his chivalry, his expertise in fighting. They were like, wow, look at what he's doing. And when they told the Prophet about it, he said, he's in the hellfire. They were shocked. When they resumed the battle, someone stabbed him. He couldn't be patient. He put a sword in the ground, threw himself on the sword, and he committed suicide. He said about that incident a few things. And one of the things that he said was, it may be that a man will do the deeds of the people of the Jannah until he comes an arm span between him and the Jannah, and the qadr, what was written for him, overtakes him. And then he does the actions of the people of the hellfire and he enters. And the opposite holds true as well. This is why we cannot close the door on rahmah on people. A man may do the deeds of the people of the hellfire all of his life, and then he comes an arm span very close to the hellfire. He's about to die. And then he does something from the deeds of the people of Jannah, and then he enters into the Jannah. And then he said about that man and people like that, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, innamal a'mal bil khawatim. Your deeds will be determined by the last thing that you do. The last thing that a person does before he dies will help to determine, will he go to Jannah or will he go to the hellfire? So we can't be of those people who do that. Today, the Imam, he read the ayat of the Quran, talking about Allah's religion without any knowledge. When Allah Ta'ala said to Isa ibn Maryam, أَأَنْتَ قُلْتَ لِلنَّاسِ اتَّخِذُونِي وَأُمِّيَ إِلَهَيْنِ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. Isa, did you tell the people, worship me and my mother as two gods along with Allah? Isa قال سبحانك ما يكون لي أن أقول ما ليس لي بحق. Glory unto you. It's not for me to say something I don't have the right to say that. Can't talk about Allah's religion like that. And so you find people just passing out, go to jail cards, go to the hellfire card, go to the Jannah. That's not your job. That's your job. So if we saw someone like those Palestinians, or someone drowns, or a wall falls on someone, or a lady lost her baby at childbirth, we say, that person is a shaheed, inshallah. You do not, and we should not emphatically state that that is the case. Again, as I mentioned, Imam Ahmed is bringing this as a refutation against the two groups during his time, the Khawarij, who if they saw a person doing something, making a mistake, as everyone makes mistakes, they will make takfir of you. Say you are non-Muslim and excommunicate you from al-Islam. The Mu'tazila, they did the same thing. They would say anyone who did something, whatever, they stole, they drank, they fought, they killed, they lied, they didn't wear hijab, they would say you're a non-Muslim. Non-Muslim. So he's refuting that, those two groups. But we have to add on to those two groups the antithesis and the opposite of that. Those people go overboard in personalities and they put people in the Jannah, like the Rawafid, the Rafida. They say that whoever is from their 12 Imams, they put them all in Jannah. You can't put people in Jannah. You can't put people in Jannah like that. That's not from our... No one knows who's in Jannah except where the Quran and the Sunnah is telling us. So I want to ask you brothers a question before moving on, inshallah. Some of the greatest personalities in al-Islam, Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim. They have the two most authentic books on the face of the earth after the Quran. Are they in the Jannah? Allahu A'lam. Narju, we hope that they're in the Jannah. We hope. But we don't say they're in the Jannah. We don't say that. We don't say that at all. And you take that example and you apply it to any and every other human being, no matter who they happen to be. If there's no clear ayat, no hadith coming, then it's not permissible to put people in the paradise, and it's not permissible as well to put them in the hellfire. There's a companion, his name is Uthman ibn Mad'un. May Allah be pleased with him. He was a zahid, a person who was not into the dunya. He went to the house of a lady, her kunya is al-Ala. He was dying, and he ultimately died in her house. And Rasulullah loved this man, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He died. The lady said, after he died, the lady said, "Oh, Uthman, Abu Sa'ib, don't worry. Allah has given you rahmah. Wallahu qad akramak. And Allah Ta'ala has honored you, meaning you're in Jannah." Rasulullah, he heard her say that. He said, "Well, ma yudrik. How do you know that Allah had rahmah upon him? And how do you know that Allah Azza wa Jal has given him al-ikram? How do you know that? Where do you get that from?" He said to the lady and the people who were listening, he said, "Wallahi, I'm the messenger of Allah. Wa inni la adri ma yuf'alu biya." I'm the messenger of Allah, and I don't even know what's going to happen to me. And it's really important that we rewind this a little bit. Is the Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in Jannah? No. He's in the Jannah al-Firdaus, and he has the Maqam al-Mahmud. So why would he say what he said here? He said what he said, and Allah knows best. Is that at this time, at the time of him saying that, maybe he didn't know. There is a verse in the Quran in Surah Al-Ahqaf. Al-Ahqaf. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet, "Qul ma kuntu bid'an min ar-rusul wa ma adri ma yuf'alu bi wala bikum." Tell them, ya Muhammad, I'm not the first messenger who ever came. I'm not the first person who came calling people to Allah. And I don't know what's going to happen to me, and I don't know what's going to happen to you. That Surah Al-Ahqaf is a Meccan surah. But Surah Al-Fatih, when he conquered Mecca, and Allah reveals Surah Al-Fatih, showing him that he has been given a great Fath Mubin, he's been given a great victory. Allah said in that ayah, or in that surah, that Allah Ta'ala has forgiven him from what he did in mistakes that went forward, and the ones that are going to come later on. So he came to know about that. So the point here is, he didn't allow the lady to say that. And he did that with another lady as well, with Sa'd ibn Ubadah, who she thought he was going to die, and she said the same thing. Hey, Sa'd, don't worry about it. You're going to go to Jannah. The Prophet said, how do you know Sa'd? Maybe Sa'd said something or did something you don't know about. And as a result of that, he'll be thrown into the hellfire. The lady said, Ala, she said, La uzakki alallahi ahadin ba'du. I will never ever praise a person after hearing this. I'll never praise anyone after that. And Rasulullah told her and the people, Arju lahu al-khayr. I hope for him good. I hope for him good. The lady went to sleep that night and she saw a stream that was flowing, and it was connected to Sa'd. It was connected to Uthman ibn Maz'un. She told the Prophet of the dream. He told her, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, those were his good deeds running in front of him. Those were his good deeds running in front of him. So from that incident, he told the lady, don't say that. How do you know that? Number two, he said, I hope for him good. Not a Jew. If someone is religious and he's making the adhan, giving the khutbah, praying in the masjid, he's young, he's doing something positive, we say that's a good sign. We hope khayr for that person. But we're afraid maybe Allah is not khayr. You don't know if the person is showing off. You don't know if the person is doing something that would nullify those things that he's, so you can't say. He's going to have the longest neck Yawm al-Qiyamah because the hadith said, you don't know that. We hope that that is the case. And likewise, the opposite holds true. This is important. I see on social media some of these criminals who are into the drill music from Chicago. These people, when they say Black Lives Matter, although I don't push that mantra, Black Lives don't matter to some of these criminals. These kids are killing each other and killing innocent people over some madness, nonsense. And then they come in and they make music and they rat themselves out and they get arrested. Anyway, one of them has been arrested recently for contracting a killing. And he's a Muslim. He wears white though, and he was praying. Some people may see that and look at his lifestyle, which is the lifestyle of drugs, weed, women, all of that, because he's doing all that open. The person says, that's not going to benefit him. So what if he prays? And there are a lot of people like that. People who are Muslims and they're into that lifestyle. Guy from Philadelphia, Gilly from Philly, same thing. He was talking about how some people invited him, instead of going to a party recently, they invited him, come and pray with us as a Muslim. And he was affected by that. Some people look at that and say, those guys, they contradict all of that. Hey, that's not for you and me to judge. Does that mean that we don't take into consideration they're not examples? We say, no, they're not examples. But to reject the fact that the person is praying, that's not for you. That's not for me. And similar to it as well are the people who make mistakes. And once they make mistakes, there are people who will never, ever, ever allow them to retract from their mistake. One of the brothers who's giving dawah now got a PhD from Islamic University of Al-Medina. He was talking recently about how Yusuf, the Nabi of Islam, worked inside of the cabinet of the Fir'aun of his time. And he said the wrong thing, that Yusuf, he did corruption in order to help the overall good of the community. Yusuf never did corruption. The prophets and the messengers never did corruption. Never. Can't talk like that. What he wanted. What he was trying to say, you could clearly see he didn't mean that. But even if he meant it, he came back off of that. But before he came off of it, the people attacked him. Because some people, they just want to attack you. And they'll continue to attack the person for that mistake. And that's the idea that we have to avoid. So that's the first point that Imam Ahmed brought, rahimahullahu ta'ala. The second point is whoever meets Allah Azza wa Jal with a sin, and that sin necessitates that he should go to the hellfire, and he repented from that sin, and he didn't return to that sin, nor was he consistently upon that sin, then Allah Azza wa Jal will turn to that individual in forgiveness. And Allah accepts the tawbah from his servants, and he forgives the evil actions. That's self-explanatory. As long as a person dies from this qibla, the doors of a tawbah are open. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, inna allaha yaqbalu tawbata abdihi ma lam yugharghir. As long as a person is not in the throes of death, he's not about to die, then he makes tawbah. Nope. As long as he makes tawbah, Allah will accept his tawbah. At-ta'ibu min adh-dhanbi kaman la dhanba lahu. The one who makes tawbah from any sin, whatever, then he is like the one that has no tawbah. So if he does a thing that has been mentioned, you go to the hellfire for this. Whoever kills a believer intentionally, then his reward will be, he will be in the hellfire forever. And Allah is angry with him. And Allah won't look at him. And he prepared for him a grievous punishment. That's one of the major sins in Islam. If he makes tawbah, even if he killed 100 people. If he made true tawbah, and he stopped doing what he was doing, and he turned to Allah with ikhlas, Allah forgive him. He said about himself, subhanahu wa ta'ala, غافر الذنب وقابل التوبة. Allah is the one who forgives the mistakes, and he is the one who accepts the tawbah. Nabbi ibadi anni ana ghafur rahim. Ya Muhammad, let the people know, my servants, let them know that I am the one, me, who I am al-Ghafur and I am al-Rahim. I will forgive people and give them rahmah and al-Maghfirah. And it's not for someone else to come now and close the door on people. It's not from our religion because of a shubha here or there. And that's what those people they used to do, the people from the Khawarij and the people from the Mu'tazila. And the crazy thing, or what is very difficult to get your mind around, is everybody is making mistakes. This is the nature of Bani Adam. All of Adam's children make mistakes and they make sins. And he also mentioned about Bani Adam's children. Adam's children is that there is not a slave, ma min abdin illa walahu dhanb huwa ya'taduhu al-faynati ba'd al-fayna. He said there is no slave, no human being, except that he has a sin, that he does it from time to time. And he'll continue to do that sin until he leaves this dunya. He'll continue to do it. And Allah Azza wa Jal is one who is forgiven, and he'll forgive. So I don't know how a person can be from the Khawarij, see someone or come to know that someone made a mistake, and then he turns around and says, you're in the hellfire. What about you? What about you? And I've seen people pronounce the hellfire upon people, and there are hadith that are applicable to a person that also would suggest if you take those hadith out of context. Like, for an example, that hadith, I am free from the one who lives with the mushrikeen. That hadith has fiqh to it, has an understanding to it. I am free from the one who lives with the mushrikeen. The way these people understand the religion, they'll just apply takfir and say, Rasulullah said that he's free from you because he's living in Medina or Mecca. He's living there. So he uses that against everybody who still lives in a... This is not the fiqh of al-Islam. That's not how you pass rulings in al-Islam. Because anyone can find something to make it applicable on someone. Any and everyone can do that. And this is the shiddah of the Khawarij, in that they used to judge and close the door of rahmah which in and of itself is a major sin. It's a major sin. Whoever says that the people are no good or the people have been destroyed, then he's the most destroyed from amongst them. Because it's as if he doesn't realize and doesn't accept and embrace that Allah can forgive anyone. Allah can guide anyone. So we don't close the door on people regardless of how we feel or what we think we're seeing. The third and the last thing that we want to mention here, Ikhwani, is that in the books of the ulama similar to this, Sunnah, there's a scholar, his name is Ibn Abi Zamanin, and he was from Andalus, Abu Abdullah Muhammad Ibn Abi Zamanin. He has a book called As-Sunnah, just like the Imam Ahmad. And they used to, they would name the book like that, many of them, and they would name other things. Sharh As-Sunnah, Al-Barbahari. And Imam Abu Hatim al-Razi had the book As-Sunnah. So they named their books, many of them. And they put basically the same things in the book. Almost all of them have this issue. I want to share what Imam Ibn Abi Zamanin brought. And one of the great scholars of Islam, his name is Zuhair ibn Ubad. Zuhair ibn Ubad or Abbad. He said, out of all of the ulama that I met, and even to mention some of them, he said, Malik ibn Anas, Sufyan ibn Uyayna, Isa ibn Yunus, Al-Fudayl ibn Iyad, Abdullah ibn Mubarak, Waqi' ibn Jarrah. Some of these are the 10 people who are the Amir al-Mu'minin in Hadith. Some of these people were people who had their own madhabs. He said, out of all of these people who I met, all of them, these who I mentioned and others, they all said to us that we should never make takfir of anyone because of a sin that he committed, nor should we make shahada and bear witness for anyone that he is in the Jannah, even if that individual never disobeyed Allah. We don't put him in the Jannah. We don't bear witness he's in Jannah, even if he never disobeyed Allah. And we don't put him in the hellfire, even if he fell into the major sins. Whoever says other than this is an innovator. The Khawarij, the Mu'tazila, putting people outside of the religion because of sins. Similar to that is the Imam Hussein ibn Hussein al-Marwazi, rahimahullah ta'ala, also in that book of Al-Imam Ibn Abi Zamanin. He said that this is the truth of what was mentioned by Zuhair. This is the truth. And whoever goes against this is a zindiq, like heretical. Because some people, they're going to insist to be judgmental and make Muslims people not worthy of the Jannah, meaning Allah doesn't give people forgiveness and he doesn't open up the door for them. The last one, we're not going to do it. That's almost 45 minutes or more. We'll leave this other important thing about the hudud because it is a part of this whole issue. The last few points, if you recall, running after the thief and fighting the person who tries to steal from you, someone who tries to harm you and rob you, in the presence where you are, you can do with him what if you defend yourself, but you can't run after him. And Imam Ahmed was talking about dealing with the Khawarij in these past 4, 5, 6 issues. Listening to and obeying the ruler over the Muslims and not making khuruj against him. That doesn't mean we love him. Doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that we go overboard and we're always praising him. Doesn't mean that. But you don't make takfir of him. You don't make khuruj of him. All of these are the issues of the Khawarij, and he's dealing with them now in the book. So this is where we're going to stop at, inshallah. If you brothers have any questions concerning these 2 points, never, ever, ever put somebody into the Jannah no matter who he is, unless you have a proof. no matter how great he may be. So people of a tasawwuf go overboard. And they say people like Abdul Qadir al-Jailani, wali from the awliya of Allah, he's in the Jannah. How do you know that? Narju lahu al-khayr. We hope what you're saying is true. We hope that that's true. But we don't emphatically state that for anybody other than what the Quran and the Sunnah said. And the opposite holds true. Never ever say so-and-so is in the hellfire because he or she did something. Don't say that. The individual could have been caught, for an example, he was caught spying on the Muslims. The action of the munafiqeen. He was literally spying on the Muslims and telling the feds, and he was lying on Muslims and getting them in trouble, like the munafiqeen. We don't say that he's in the hellfire. He could have been doing that because he wants money. Is that a major sin? That's a major sin. But he could be doing it because he wants money. He could be doing it because he's weak in his iman. We don't say you are a munafiq, you are kafir. We say that's the actions of the munafiqeen. Could he really be a munafiq? Yeah, it could be, but we have to establish that. The point is, don't look at an action that a person says and then you excommunicate him. And excommunication is one thing, and tabdi' is his cousin. Saying someone is an innovator is a step below, but it's like the relative. Saying people are innovators and so forth and so on. So if you brothers have any questions, you can put your questions forward, inshallah. We have about 10 more points in the book, and then we'll be finished. Bi-idhnillah. Hey, tafadhal ya Sheikh. A what? A fasiq? Oh, a gay person. Can he be a shaheed? Allahumma na'am. A gay person can be a shaheed, just like an alcoholic can be a shaheed. Just like a person who is doing he's a criminal, a robber, he can be a shaheed. Because like we mentioned, the person can do evil deeds and then what was written for him overtakes him and he does the actions of the people of the Jannah. Plus the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about the Mahdi, al-Mahdi. He said, yuslihuhu Allah fi laylatin wahida. Allah will rectify the Mahdi in one night. Imam Ibn Kathir and others said, the Mahdi al-Muntadhir. He wasn't always a religious man because this authentic hadith said, Allah will rectify his affair and make him a religious person in one night. Some of the other scholars said they will rectify the circumstances for him to come out. But it seems like the other hadith the other explanation is better. So he became a wali from the awliya of Allah when he wasn't always like that. The companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were non-Muslims. And then they became Muslims and they became from the awliya of Allah. So a gay person, a lesbian person, a transvestite, all of that LGBT stuff, Allah has the hearts of the people between his two fingers. He changes them as he pleases, and he can rectify people's situations. And that hadith that we mentioned, that hadith, that Allah, before a person dies, Allah will allow him to do something. Like the one who killed 100 people. He killed all those people, and then he went to Allah making tawbah, and then he died. As a result of that, he murdered 100 people. The gay person, the gay man, his gayness is just inside of him. He's just doing that, him. That's him. That man killed 100 people from the community. Spilled the blood of 100 people. And the reward of killing one person is that you're killed. In Islamic law, you're killed. The one who's gay, the ruling is that he should be killed if it was found he had a relationship with someone. He should be dealt with. That man was responsible for 100 lives. And Allah forgave him. subhanahu wa ta'ala? And that's a good question, because it goes to show the point that we're trying to make today. Don't allow the thing to be in your head and then you have a problem. One of us has a problem with it. Abu Dhar, when he heard the Prophet say, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's going to come a time where people won't pray, people won't do zakat, they won't make som, and they won't make hajj. And there'll be an old man and an old woman, and all they're saying is La ilaha illallah. And that's going to help them. Abu Dhar, when he heard that, he said, Ya Rasulullah, they're not praying, they're not fasting, they're not making som, they're making hajj? He said, yes. He said, Ya Rasulullah, they're not praying, they're not doing this, they're not that? He said, yes. He said, Ya Rasulullah, all they're saying is they're not doing this? He said, yes. Ragam Amf Abi Dhar. That's going to benefit them despite the nose of Abu Dhar. The fact that you can't see how, that's going to benefit them, because that's the condition that the people are going to be in. Yawm al-Qiyamah will be established. I'm the worst of the people. No one will say Allah, Allah. These two people, the old man and the old lady, they're going to say La ilaha illallah. They're going to say, this is what we found our fathers saying, and that's all we know about al-Islam. And it's going to be enough to give them najat. It's going to be enough. But Abu Dhar, when he said, they're not praying? You say, yes, despite your nose, in spite of your nose, despite the fact that you can't understand that. That's a good question, brother. Any more questions? Okay, إخواني, إذن نكتفي بهذا القدر. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.